Welcome to another episode of DD on the Spot. As always, I'm your host, Ryan Johnson. And if you can recognize our guest here, we got Ethan, our first ever guest on the podcast DD on the Spot. He has come back to give us an update on what he's been up to and his update on the Owl Eyes as well, his band that he's in. And we're just so excited to have him back on. Like I was telling him before we started recording this, I mean, Ethan, one of the reasons why I'm still doing this podcast is because our first podcast that we did was just so awesome. And I know that you guys just got done playing a show last night with the Owl Eyes. But before we get started, why don't you just give us a little bit of a rundown of what that show last night was like?
Oh my gosh, that show last night was crazy. We performed at the Hook and Ladder in Minneapolis. We basically were opening up for the Magnolias. Anyone who is very big into the Minneapolis scene and Minneapolis music history, they know the Magnolias as one of the few bands that were also pioneers at that time of the Minneapolis sound. Folks like them, Suicide Commandos, Husker Du, and very old school punk rock, no wave. I freaking loved it to death. And when I found how I ended up getting the show was just through my workings as booking for the band, because it's weird when you're an independent musician. You're literally kind of doing all this yourself. You don't have the advantation of like a booking agent, and you can definitely get one, but it requires work on your effort first to make an impact and keep doing the work and start garnering a presence to where they can look at the numbers and go like, okay, I'll take a risk with him. I'll try getting him some shows and seeing what they do and going from there. I got a few email contacts in my time, just like going to shows and getting some emails for different places. And I, in fact, got to email the guy that booked us the show at the Hook and Ladder tonight to thank him for the experience, because it was just so awesome. So got his email through circumstance, emailed him, and then he basically shot back and was like, that might be a possibility. Hit me back up with, these things that I need down, like, name of the band, we have an album, link, stuff like that, an EPK. He reaches back out to me after I send him that, and he goes, well, there is a possibility of opening up for the Magnolias. And he literally called them in the email the legendary Magnolias. And bear in mind, I come from Missouri. I'm getting more into the scene. So, like, when he said that, I'm like, who are these guys? And then I looked them up, and in my mind, I was picturing, like, we were going to go in. It was going to be this giant theater, and there was going to be this huge crowd. It was really cool, the Hook and Ladder. It is this new music venue that's come up. It used to be a firehouse that has now been repurposed into a music venue, and they got several different rooms. And the main room, it's kind of like Amsterdam main stage, but not fully as large and as spacious. It's not like the small stage of the Amsterdam. It is a good-sized stage with an awesome backdrop and a lot of room for people to be out in the crowd and jumping around and just having a good time. With the amount of people that showed up there, it was kind of like, I want to say about 200 to 300 throughout the night. And the thing is like they were coming and going. So at like the average that stayed in the room, I would say roughly 25 to 65 people in general stayed in the room. 25 are their lowest, 65 are their highest. And it was a really fantastic show.
And that's so awesome. And when you're performing at a place like that, I mean, you said that you guys had some merch too that you guys sold. What other types of, do you guys just have t-shirts? What other things do you guys have, or is it just t-shirts?
Oh yeah, we have t-shirts, we have CDs, we have stickers, have koozies, basically just stuff that like, you can grab and have it around, and it has the Owl Eyes name on it, and it could be a cool piece to have if someone's like, well, what the heck is this? It's like, oh, it's actually this band, and people can talk about it. The main thing that we're really trying to sell and hype is our album, which we just dropped back in April. We dropped it April 19th, and we played a record release show at Can Can Wonderland in Minneapolis. Can Can is a fantastic place. It is dude, check this out. This is going to blow your mind. You're going to love this. It is an indoor mini golf, arcade, and bar that the whole day it's basically chill, but then by night around 9 p.m. They have a rule where no one can get in unless they're 21 and up. So it's just the adults are out to play now. And the thing is like it's Dave and Buster's, but it's like and I'm saying this with all love, the hipster Dave and Buster's, if that makes sense, because they do have one room where it's like new school games and stuff like that. Then you get to one room and it's retro games. And when I say retro, I'm not talking Galaga or Pac-Man. I'm talking like games from the 20s and 30s. But they're active working pinball machines. So like if you're a collector, you'd look at this. If you're a fan of American Pickers, you would go into that place like, this is mind-blowing. So yeah, and they have 2 stages. The thing about the place is it's all about the Minneapolis arts. In fact, a major amount of their proceeds goes towards funding and development for Minnesota education and arts education. So basically, it's keeping art education live in schools by every drink you buy, by every show you go to, by every game you play. You're actually giving back to the community and making sure art education is still a thing. They have things where they have like live painters. It's just a really awesome spot. And especially for someone who's a geek like me, I just was like, oh, this is wild. And people are chill here. The stage, the mini golf course itself, which is right by the stage, it is sculpted and designed all by Minneapolis artists. So basically, it's like original design. And then on top of that, the stage that we had, the Wii stage, they have like ceramics and sculptures that are pasted into the wall. And they're very colorful. It's also very nautical themed. Like you see a couple of pictures, and thank God for black and white filters, because I could put that on there and be like, "Yeah, we're rock stars." But in full color, if like saturated to heck, we would have looked like we were on an episode of SpongeBob. There's a but it was still fun. It was still fun, and I loved the look of the stage, and we had a terrific time. We got to play a little bit of a longer set than we usually do. I wanted to do the whole album in its entirety, but there were a few songs at the last second I was like, those aren't really strong. We should cut those and have a better show. And we had interludes and stuff like that. I had a good friend, Jonathan Capello, who is now our current drummer. He worked as a guitar technician that night. And our drummer was his fill-in from another great Minneapolis group called Embassies, which you should definitely reach out and talk to Colin Johnson and talk to Embassies, because that'd be a really fun episode. Those are really good guys. Evan Slack as the lead singer. Their music is really interesting. It's kind of like the best way to describe it would be like very poppy, modern new wave, while also like having elements of pop rock and rap rock even to some extent. But I don't know how to explain it, but it's really chill and it's very original shit. And it is very rock and roll, but it's also very poppy and hooky, and it's got that chorus that becomes earwormy and you find yourself singing like da, 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 da. But that shit's good. So yeah, I ended up having that drummer Sam Klein fill in for us, and it was just a very terrific show. And yeah, we got another show coming up June 29th at the Midway, which was formerly Big V's, but now it's the Midway, and it's been all repurposed, and it's a very good, like, awesome, cool little like music venue spot now, and I'm really excited.
That's so awesome, and yeah, I'll definitely reach out to those guys and see if they want to come on. I mean, I'd love to have them on. But out of this new album that you have, what would you say is the song that you're most proud of?
Out of the new, honestly, it'd probably be War Elephants, especially with all the traction that has been gaining on Spotify right now, with 11,000 views. The thing about War Elephants that I particularly I feel the most accomplished with is that I literally took 2 chords and was able to repurpose it into a 7-minute long Space Odyssey heavy metal rock opera jam. And it was just through finding ways of playing the same 2 chords but in different rhythms and in different styles on the guitar, and having bass lines work within those styles and drum grooves work within those styles and feels that I wanted, but it was still the same 2 chords going. And then on top of that, just like, having it be a jam song where we kind of just let go in that middle section, and really we have these different kind of themes and passages we work with, but we're really just, having these moments where we can just jam and really let the rock energy out. And I think it's kind of connected with some people because it's gotten on some Spotify playlists, and on top of that, it's at 11,000 streams right now. And funny enough, it was never a single. I released 4 other songs that were the singles, and I was like, these are going to be the songs that I feel like the public will react to. Nothing. That song takes off. And I also been getting some radio play and some college radio stations out in Pittsburgh as well as New Jersey. So the shit is wild.
That's unbelievable, man. And I highly recommend everyone go and check out War Elephant and the new album. I'll put all that stuff down on Spotify. But one thing that I thought is really cool, and by the way, everyone, if you see Ethan is making jingles or making jams, it's because we're going to see the creative process, how an artist comes up with music, how they come up with certain sounds. So if he does make any noise like that, or if he does, go on his drums or get on his guitar, just know that he's working on something. And I think that's really cool and something that I think you as the viewers would be very, blessed to see, I should say.
I wouldn't say bless. I mean, I thank you for the compliment, but at the same time, I've been having this thing I've been doing on Facebook where I just go on there and just songwrite in the moment and talk to people live there. And it's been something that I've been really enjoying. So I thought that it would be really cool to kind of do that right now, especially with us needing to get some new music rolling for the second album. So I'm still in the process of just kind of gathering ideas, and then I'm going to present these ideas to my bandmates, and we're going to see what we like the best and where our heart steers and what we would flesh out later. So first things first, okay, I'm going to admit this. I am a terrible, I'm not the best with technology. So somehow I get through this. How the heck do I get out of the full screen mode?
I think you can just click on the sides and then do where it comes up like a arrows.
Margins?
Yeah.
Okay. There we go. Sweet. Sorry about that.
No worries.
So yeah, let me get some stuff going because I can't see myself on camera, so I don't know how it looks. And
it looks fine, dude. We're doing fine. So when you guys are coming up with your stuff, or when you have your idea, have all of your songs been just basically you just sitting around doing this like you're doing right now, or has this just been a new thing that you've just all of a sudden decided to do?
For the most part, it's a tradition that kind of goes back to what I did when I got home from school when I was living in Missouri, where I loved music so much I would just go on YouTube, surf, listen to music. If something inspired me, I'd be like, hey, I want to check that out. That's cool. And now it's more of a developed too. I can just have a space where if I just want to start creating, I can just jam for a little bit. If something strikes me in the moment, I can keep going and kind of go through there. And I do have a science of songwriting that I've broken down mentally in my head to where I can dictate to myself in the moment, that's a verse, that's a chorus, that's not really that good. Yeah, that's basically how the process goes. So right now I'm seeing if I can get the guitar to go through on my speakers. Can you hear that?
Yep.
All right, so I know the tuning might be a little bit bad, but that's okay.
Oh, dude, it sounds great. It sounds great here, man.
All right. And I need to make sure I'm in channel 1, so I boost that up a bit so it can get a little bit more of that signal and put that into the treble. That's Sweet Jane by Velvet Underground.
I was going to say I was actually going to guess that, yeah.
Lou Reed was the first guy, because I have a lot of musical heroes, but with me growing up and having an affinity for classic rock, it became this really weird perspective where all my heroes are dying as I'm growing up, especially in 2017, dude. Lemmy, dead. David Bowie, dead. Prince, dead. And then, meanwhile, you got freaking Justin Bieber still being able to release a song here or two, and it's like, what the f***?
I hear you.
And no diss to Justin Bieber, you do your thing, but it's just it's not my thing.
Yeah.
That's kind of creepy, but I can come up with something here. Do I need to have some pedals? I would really like to come up with something clean. Ooh, that's good. Oh, okay, that's it. That's what I'm gonna do. Oh, the way that I was able to actually flow so well in the moment with jamming. That is when I know that like it can work as a song, because I now have two distinct pieces. I got a piece here that can work as a verse. And it can just do that for however long it needs to with the verse. If we need to have like a section where it can cut in and we can have a little bit of like guitar noodling or new sound to be introduced, it can work in that spot there. And then we can go here, just start building, and then we're into the chorus. And then I would have to come up with something for a verse, or for a bridge. And I would like to stay on E, because like if I stay on E here, I can actually end up having something very rich and powerful, and then I can chug along with that like have some kind of like groovy riff there for the bridge where we can have a guitar solo section. However, I'm already doing some variation of an E chord here, and then I'm going down to here to E major. So it's like, yeah, that would be the actual chord I'm playing down there. So really the only difference is 4 notes.
People down below, when you're watching this, when this gets released, come up with some lyrics that you think they should put down for this melody.
We'll, titles, man.
Yeah, come up with titles too. We'll see what we can get the best lyrics and the best title, and then we can make a decision. Maybe we'll see if Ethan will then agree, and maybe we can name that song. Then maybe we'll have the audience name it. That would
be cool. That'd be cool. Get it dropped on SoundCloud. That'd be dope as heck. So let's see. Oh, this is phaser. I don't need phase. Oh wait, phase distortion might be good. Alien bass, extreme distortion, lead sound.
That's awesome.
And like, I don't know how it sounds to you on your end, but on my end, it's a little crappy, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But yeah, keep going with the questions.
Yeah. Oh, man. Yeah. No, I was just about to ask. Yeah.
Back to a podcast.
No problem, dude. That was really cool. But yeah, we'll just keep on doing that. But yeah, so the Owl Eyes. I mean, you guys released your album. You guys have played a few gigs. Have you guys been thinking about doing other things other than the album part, or are you guys working on just basically just making more music?
For the time being, trying to get more shows, make more music. Because basically I want albums to kind of have like a progression, like there's the rise and then there's the fall, and now we're on to the new phase. And with the kind of the period that I'm in right now, I now finally have some secure guys where I'm like, okay, they're gonna stick around for the long haul. We can begin work on album 2, and it's not gonna end up being a thing where the first album ended up being me recording every single instrument and singing and coming up with all the lyrics. Now I can make it more of a band thing. So on top of, having rehearsals where we run our general set for the shows that we have coming up, we're doing things where we start jamming, come up with ideas. I'm still doing this songwriting stuff in the meantime. And hopefully with our next rehearsal, I will actually be able to introduce to the guys some of the ideas I have working on and get their perspective on it and form it up from there. And we can get some really cool things going. So I think the problem is that I needed a pedal board. Yeah. Okay, we'll just go with the classic vintage drive. Not bad.
One of the cool things that I really want to talk about too is that we were talked about, I remember on the first podcast, that you were part of School of Rock and you were part of the school and you got to do some really cool things. We talked about, the concert experience that you had playing and opening for some of these big guests that they had, but now you teach that. How did you get that gig, and what is that like now to finally be able to give back and now help kids?
I got that gig through steady determination and just not taking no for an answer, if that makes sense. Because originally, I knew the people at that School of Rock literally as a freshman coming to McNally, because in the School of Rock in Kansas City, I'd mentioned to one of my teachers that I'd be really interested in pursuing this as a career. Is there a good college that you could recommend to me? And I don't want to go to some place where I inevitably end up having to do 2 years of classical training in order to get into the cool programs like the metal ensemble or the jazz ensemble. And instead, what they ended up, they talked to the manager. He sent out a mass email. That School of Rock responded back and said, hey, we'd be very glad to have Ethan as an intern here, and we can give him, some time to work here. And I get up there, and it was just such a crazy situation, getting into McNally and trying to hear back from the School of Rock. And they were going through a kind of a change of, just basically getting some stuff together and making a new place. And it just, the timing never worked out, and it felt like I was never going to get that job. But then eventually I was like, it's not going to, I'm going to keep asking, I'm going to keep striving. And finally, I ended up seeing a Facebook post by the owner, and I just responded on there, and I'm like, hey, I'd be very interested. Boom. Was able to send in, my resume, get a cover letter, have an interview with them. Now I work there as a teacher and a director. And the teaching, it's crazy because I didn't have the best time in high school. So I didn't realize, I would like teaching. I always thought that I would end up having a hard time kind of doing the education thing, since the education thing didn't gel so well with me when I was growing up. I loved education, and I was really smart, and I got really good grades. It was just the high school experience in and of itself was just I don't want to be a part of this. The minute I get out of here, I'm never coming back. And definitely not as a teacher. And then I become a teacher, and my students inspire me every day. I get a passion, to show them, I feel like the dude, I forget what movie it is, but he has that quote where he's like, I have such things to show you. Just oh my God, you are going to learn about Talking Heads, and you're going to see how awesome they are. But you also have to reach the kid on their level. And that's also what's cool, because it gives me, access to what are the kids doing these days? What are they listening to? And it's going to keep me inevitably, eternally young.
Do you find it hard to connect with the kids today because their music is basically not really the desired type of music that most people like you and me would like to hear?
Not really, because on one hand, yes, it does kind of suck. But on the other hand, yeah, that's good. That's going to be the sound I want. On the other hand, music has always been good. And for me, my thought process on music is that it is an abstract thing that's also very tangible. But the best way to describe it is like water. It is pure. So rather than trying to dictate the music, have the music dictate you in a sense. You follow your heart and you follow your instincts, but ultimately you live to serve the song, and you try to use each song as an art piece. And that is how I've been able to kind of see there are people that are doing it out there. Frank Ocean is a fantastic example. I can't swear. I'm sorry. I can swear, but my parents are actually up here. That's the reason why I got all this modeling done on my basement right now, because they decided to come up for a few weeks, and my parents are the type of folks that watch a lot of HGTV, and I do too. If I'm in a hotel room and I'm getting tired, I wonder how much they're gonna pay for this house. are they gonna go with the one that has the kitchen aisle? Like, but yeah, it's they like that stuff. I like that stuff. They decided while they were up here they'd do some stuff. The house looks amazing. We've been doing a lot of work, and now I got this little kind of like recording area.
And I don't know if we talked about this before, but I don't know if you were engaged when we first talked last year. But how did that happen? And where do you guys have a plan for the wedding? And is the Owl Eyes going to be playing the reception?
No, unfortunately not, because I mean I would like it, but at the same time I know that a DJ is just going to be better for the event. And plus, I know friends in the scene that are DJs, so it's like, oh, you could totally do that. That'd be sick. Too much reverb. I like it, but it's too much reverb. And I ended up proposing to her on a Christmas Eve.
Oh wow!
Which was that. I was planning it. You know what I mean? Where it's like when I knew she was the one, I wanted to impress her and be her Romeo. So I thought like, okay, what would get me the most amount of boyfriend points? Oh, I know. Christmas Eve, you get the Vince Guaraldi Trio Charlie Brown record, that Christmas record. Oh my God. Like, for those of you who don't know, Vince Guaraldi is a legit badass jazz composer. It's just everybody knows him as the guy who made the music for Peanuts. But like, you listen to that shit, it is some really just tight, laid back, soothing, relaxing, set in atmosphere tone of music. And especially the holiday album, since I'm such a sentimental guy, you know, Christmas Eve and everything, it's just like, oh, the emotions, my emotions. So I knew like that would be the perfect music to have on in the background as I made spaghetti and meatballs, handmade, in the kitchen, gonna set that in the crock pot, go pick her up from work. And while doing that, I got flowers, I put them in a vase on the kitchen table, I got some candles. I'm like, oh, this is gonna be the shit. And in the middle of cooking all this dinner, all of a sudden my phone rings, I go to answer, boom, hits the ground, pops out of itself, and the screen pops out from the side. I'm like, oh God, no, please don't let this happen. And then I popped it back in, and all of a sudden the entire screen broke, and the phone started going haywire. I could not even shut it off. It was just opening apps randomly. I'm like, delete, stop, let's go. So I shut off the phone. I have to get on the computer like I'm doing right now and call up my parents to let them know the situation while I'm cooking dinner. So like my back's behind, I'm like, hey, this is an effed up situation. My phone broke. And they're like, well, you're just going to have to get a new one. You're going to go to Verizon the day after Christmas, and you're just going to figure this out. I'm like, fine. So we get done. We put the stuff in the crock pot. I decide that after putting it in the crock pot that like, okay, I got to go pick up Sky. But then the thought occurred, oh shit, my phone's broken. How's she going to know that I'm out there? So I didn't even know how long she was going to be in there. So I was just like, and I'm not going to have anything to do while I'm chilling in the car, and she is staying late. Oh, God, this is going to be bad. But thankfully, she was out pretty early, and I was able to pick her up, and I told her about the experience, and we had the dinner, and right before she sat down at the kitchen table, proposed her. And beautiful moment, and I knew she was always going to be the one, and now we're going to have our wedding, hopefully August 8th of 2020. And here's the best part. It's the place where we spend our third date, and this will just show you what level of geeks we are. The Renaissance Fair.
Ooh.
It's going to be legit.
You're going to go like medieval costumes and everything?
I'd like to, but she's like, it'd be nice to just kind of have like an elegant looking wedding. So I'm just... but the setting and everything around it is perfect to like have that feel of like a king and queen. So like you don't even really need the costume to like have that feel of like, yes, the royal wedding. You just need to make sure that you show up and you throw down with an awesome wedding. At least that's my view.
Dude, that's so great, and that's actually a really cool proposal story. But with the Owl Eyes and what you guys are doing right now with the music. Now that you said before, like you did everything for this first album, you did the recording, you did the vocals. how much are you willing to give away to the other band members to get taken care of? Because normally, like, when people do their first album all by themselves, it can be hard to sort of give away a little bit of the command and the control when it comes to the songwriting process. Or are you just tired right now where you just say, hey, if anyone has any ideas, I'm fair game?
No, it's more out of a sense of just that I am, in a way, not bored with writing by myself. And I'm not tired because I'm always getting inspiration. I'm able to, like, keep coming up with stuff in the moment and do it. But it's more just like, I want another opinion other than my own. You know what I mean? When you're really in your own head doing it all by yourself, it becomes this weird ass game of like ego and self doubt. You're always double thinking and second guessing, like, is this good? Is this not good? But when it is good, you feel it, and it's so just like a drug. It's like, oh, yeah, there's my fix. Daddy got his fix. But at the same time, I love that collaborative input of playing live, and I want to take that collaborative input of playing live and apply it to my songwriting in a way to create something more organic and more not of me. Because it's kind of like the first album, I did present myself, and I was true and honest and integral with myself. And the album, I was able, thankfully, not to sound so egotistical and have me all throughout the album. But at the same time, it's like, okay, that's my perspective. Like, what I went for with the first album was I wanted it to be an experience where, like, as a listener, you'd listen to it and you think, like, oh my God, this dude literally just, like, took his head, smacked it on a desk, his brain bleeded out onto the CD, and what we are literally listening to now is his brain. Like, something that just really is immersive. But now I want it to be like, okay, now it's four brains. Now it's this whole weird mishposh, and it ends up birthing this new profound idea that is completely original, and it ends up becoming something that no one's doing because we're going to be the ones to freaking do it. If that makes sense.
Oh, yeah, it actually does. And to be completely honest, like, I'm going to be honest here. The reason why I wanted to have Ethan back on is because, and I told him this when we were messaging each other, I have a friend who was at I forgot what place he was at, but it was about 2 or 3 months ago, and he made a Snapchat video of the Owl Eyes playing, and he said, these guys are legit. And I was looking at the video, and I was like, wait, is that Ethan, the guy that I had in the podcast? And I was like, oh, that is. And I was talking to my friend about it. He's like, yeah, they're really, really cool. And I really thought, I really, really enjoyed them. And I was like, yeah, I had the lead singer on for a podcast. He's like, oh, yeah, that's really awesome. That's what really got me back in. So I just wanted you to know that, just knowing that, like, yeah, you are reaching some people, and like, I have a friend, who likes you guys now, and I mean, I'm pretty sure, I told him right before I was going to have you on that I was going to have you on again. So he goes, yeah, I'll listen to it. And he goes, yeah, I mean, so dude, you guys are making headway with people, man. And I really do think, I mean, you guys are going to be doing great. But has there been any talk about, doing different genres of music, or are you just kind of just letting the music flow to you?
And there's the things like genre and lyrics, and it's weird because, like, we do always want to experiment with genres. We want to try to find, like, we all are creative brains. We all want to kind of find a way to, like, it's like, let's just take these two things that should have belonged together and somehow put them together and make it work. But also having the frame of mind to go, like, if it sounds like shit, don't stick with it. But honestly, it's gonna, things like genre and flavor and feel, and how many verses are going to be in the song, and how many choruses are going to be in the song, and how many times does that particular riff repeat. That's all details, and that's stuff that you do once you kind of, like, in this first phase and process. It's basically jamming it out, feeling the music, seeing what naturally comes to us. And, if there is something where someone's like, hey, I got a song I've written, or hey, I got a song I've written, you present it and you work it with the band. And if someone's like, I don't really like that, can we change that somehow? We can then branch off from there and see what can be done. For me, that's kind of like what we're doing right now with this phase of songwriting. Is we always are actively looking for ways to experiment and try new, unique, and interesting things. But first things first is we got to have the time where we jam it and flesh it out and make sure that, like, okay, this is good. And also build up a big enough catalog, because there are songs that we've already, written, and they are done and they are ready to go. But the thing is like, they're demos. So you save them, and then like you go through the 30 or 40 songs you recorded just all in the moment. It's like good, shit, bad, good, awesome. That's the lead single. That's the lead single, and that's where you end up getting the albums from there.
So when you say like that's the lead single, is it just a feeling that you have about that song where you're like, I really think this is going to be the best chance for us to, get better representation out of the album?
Yes, a little bit of that, and it's also a little bit of like, well, usually when you pick a single, you want to create something that is very earwormy and very hooky, because you want people to be singing that song and having fun singing that song and performing that song, so you get more of a chance of people to like be introduced to the tune, and also for up and coming musicians to cover that tune, not only helping you business wise, but also just spreading music and positivity. And all of a sudden, your song is like a mainstay staple. But when listening to the songs to go like, what is the feeling that makes us go like, that's going to be the lead single? It's mostly just trying to make it seem like what's the word for it? I'm blanking right now. I am so sorry.
No worries.
Kind of like putting yourself in the mindset of the listener being 100% objectable, because when you're writing it, you're very subjective and you love the passion of the song and the feel. And as you're crafting it, you're like, this is my baby. But then when it comes down to the review process, that shit ain't your baby no more. That is now like, you got to flesh your brain out of like the song and be like, okay, if I'm just a person that's just going to randomly, open up Spotify and just see what's randomly playing on this playlist here, what would catch me and make me go like, oh, this is really good? But also having the frame of mind being like, I have my own taste, and everyone has their own tastes and own different kind of like feels. So I study a lot of songs. I listen to a lot of songs. I see ones that stick and ones that don't. And even if I hate the ones that stick, I can still learn from them and know like, okay, well, what's happening here to make people make the song big? Like, I'll straight up admit it. You want to know one of my favorite songs right now that is blowing my mind and just has my heart giddy as a music geek? Old Town Road by Lil Nas X and Billy Ray Cyrus. I'm not even freaking joking, man. That song bumps. Because, like, if you ever feel in doubt as an artist trying to create, just know that a 29-year-old nobody SoundCloud rapper records a country trap song that is about 1 minute and 30 seconds, releases it on SoundCloud, and has a music video. It's so poor, he can't actually have it be a real music video. It is literally video game footage from Red Dead Redemption with like his music over the top of it. But it just blows up, and all of a sudden it gets connected to the TikTok app. Now country radio stations are being flooded with calls for them to play that song, to the point where it got #1 on the country radio stations. And then Billboard went, you know what? No, that ain't country. We're taking it down. And the backlash commenced, and it was glorious. Like, it was insane, the backlash. But here's the kicker. That happens, word gets to Billy Ray Cyrus. And let's be honest here. He's the achy breaky heart guy.
And will always be the achy breaky heart guy.
Yeah, he is a country a
one-hit wonder. Yeah.
Country Fabio. And it's a great song, but at the same time it's like that was his kind of perception. So when people started coming out, it's like, oh, this hero Billy Ray Cyrus, he saved this artist's, career and like stepping in, which he was doing all that, and I'll get to that. When you first see that, it's like, really? That guy? He's been trying to like come back off the backs of younger artists for years with remixes and stuff like that. And this should have been the one where it was like his lowest of the low. But it wasn't. He pulled it off. And then with Lil Nas X, it should have just been a song that was a blip on the radar and some people would like it, but no one would really know his name. And he pulls it off. And like the idea of merging country and trap, it's like, oh God, this is going to be bad. It works. It is a solid fusion of trap beats, country hooks, country melodies, but trap phrased lyrics and bars. And it's so much fucking fun to listen to. I'm sorry. Like, you can be like, it's not that smart. It's kidding you about. It's like, yeah, pop music is supposed to not be that smart because it's popular. So if you enjoy pop music, what you're really getting into is like junk food music. I don't have to like have a lot of thought, pay attention to it. It's just got to get me hyped. Nothing gets you more hyped than freaking Turn Down for What? Turn down for what? I am out of there, and I am now at 100%, and I'm dancing like a fool, and I don't give a shit.
And that is so awesome. And when you guys are coming up with, all this new stuff, what I was gonna ask too is, one thing that a lot of musicians don't get is that it's the first few seconds of your song that are going to determine whether or not someone likes you. Just the human brain, when they first hear that first few notes, I mean, they could just unconsciously not like the song, and even if they do like the song later on, just because they didn't like the opening part, they might not like it, where
it takes them a while to come around to.
So really, I mean, you really have to really catch their attention for those first few seconds. Is that a struggle for you, just realizing that, like, just based on human nature, you have to really just hit someone really hard with your sound in order for them to like it right off the bat and for it to get popular?
Not really, because sometimes I write songs and that's the general feeling that I have when I go in there. It's like, I want this to be a popular song. And sometimes I'm like, hey, guys, how silly would it be if we just did a punk rock jam on Cheese? Huh? Let's try it. Let's see what happens if we write a whole freaking song about cheese. Because for me, it's just the act of the...
I want to hear that song about cheese, first of all.
Well, I mean, we already got that riff from before earlier, so I can try to... We can try to make the cheese song right here. But I mean, Primus did it first, and they probably did it better, so maybe I can make it about Gouda.
Make it about something like real Minnesotan, like lefse or something, or tater tot hot dish.
Cheese curds.
Yeah, cheese curds. Oh, that's Wisconsin, though.
Yeah, a little bit. You know what I really like, though? Freaking in relation to cheese curds and stuff like that, poutine.
Ooh.
Like a good poutine. Oh, yeah. That's some good. All right, let me see what I got going on right now with the tones and everything.
Actually, dude, pizza rolls. Let's make a song about pizza rolls.
That might be interesting. Well, yeah, that is like the manager being like, so we have done research and the kids are really into pizza rolls, so like try to relate to them on their level. Try to talk about pizza rolls, and just instinctively my art brain goes like, yeah. So okay, that just sounds like I don't know what I'm doing wrong here. Okay, oh, I know what I'm doing wrong. Different pedal. Put that on full. Put that about yaw. Put that about yaw. Let's see what happens. Okay, I like that, but it's still a little bit too like.
When we're doing this, like right now, when you're coming up with the sound of a song, do you have any idea of what the lyrics are going to be, or do you just take what you have for the sound and just say like, hey, I can make any song basically out of this?
So sometimes it's a little bit of both. Sometimes it's because honestly, the best songs are when it's a little bit of both. When you kind of have an idea that you're already going into writing the song about, and then you kind of go. Actually, you know what? That might actually be able to help me out right now. In order to write this song, I can show you this process that I do that helps me. Like if I'm kind of getting an idea and a feel, but I don't know what the title of the song is going to be or what the lyrics are going to be. And honestly, in my opinion, the title has to come first. You have to have a general idea of what you're going to be doing before you start doing it. And sometimes you can jam and it comes out of the air and the ethos and you come up with lyrics for it later. And sometimes you, just do some poetry writing and you get like a really cool kind of cadence going. You're like, man, that's actually a song. So then you write those lyrics. But what I do, and let me actually end up pulling up Skype again. How long? All right, so I see. Check this out. So thinking about making a song kind of about snack food. And I honestly like the idea of a song called Gouda because that word itself has a very nice long vowel to it. Gouda. Like it's weird, but like it can flow. So I literally write the word Gouda, and then what I do, create a little pyramid. And inside the pyramid, I am basically just brain draining thousands of different ideas that I have about, like, okay, what would a song called Gouda sound like? What would be the intent of it? Can Gouda be like a metaphorical thing? And you get ideas for that through what David Lee Roth calls training. If y'all don't know, David Lee Roth, who's the lead singer of Van Halen, you probably know him for that. What you might not know him for is he's actually an EMT. Like when Van Halen started kind of having that weird period after he left and after his solo career wasn't like as big as it was, I want to say it was around like the early 90s, he on the side decided to become an EMT for the Los Angeles fire department. And he basically and he was on the Joe Rogan podcast. He was like, so why'd you do that? I was like, training. I wanted to get more ideas. And, have you ever when you're in a car and you pass by a place, you're like, say, what's in that building there? I kind of want to go in there. That's what I went into the EMT for. It's like, I want to see the people. I want to see my fans. And, someone who just like sees me and was like, holy shit, it's David Lee Roth. I can now see who I'm reaching and blah, blah, blah. And what are they thinking and how are their lives like? And it gives you more ideas, more food for fodder that you can then write it down. The term training, I think that he's saying in that podcast, he has another term, but I can't remember the exact word. But the definition is basically something that is done in debates where you're basically getting all of your points in order to fight the other side. So Gouda, I feel like it's got to be suave. Like it is a very kind of like rich cheese. Like I love it a lot, but like if you go to like a house party and someone's like, "Oh, we got some crackers with rich jam and Gouda," you're like automatically this just got a little bit lit, but it's also very rich and very waspy. I don't know if I can handle this. So suave, and let's see. So now I'm kind of like thinking of a melody that could work with that Gouda sound. But here's the thing. Gouda, with it being the title, the main thing that works with music, the more that you can have the actual title of the song in the lyrics, the better of a chance you have of it sticking with an audience.
Yep.
But at the same time, there are songs that you write, and that's not the purpose of writing them. You just have this really cool idea, and then something else ends up becoming the hook. But the more that you can make the actual title of the song the hook that plays in the chorus, then will work. Now, another thing I've kind of seen from studying songs is that, and being a big music geek, is that choruses that generally have a more soaring sort of melodic structure end up becoming more earwormy. I guess, for example, doo wop, 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 doo wop, doo wop. Not a whole lot of syllables, maybe except for that part. But that doo wop, 2 syllables, it slides doo wop, doo wop. And it's really the same note, but like the function of the syllables ends up having that kind of like bounce there. But the more that you can actually make a melody where it's kind of like, or let's see, a different song, different idea for a melody, but like, if you could have a singer kind of like doing that over the top of what the background music is doing, it has more of a chance for an audience in a giant crowd or stadium to sing along with it. Because if you have a song that's like 1,000 lyrics in like 30 seconds, while a very cool feat that can like blow people's minds, no one in the audience is going to be able to sing along with it. And the goal is you want like a communal experience when you're playing that live music where people are like, man, these guys are good, and you just got their attention and you're doing this thing where it's like, hey, it's music, man. It's awesome. So with I gotta remember. So go. Kind of like a more percussive tone. And I got the word Buddha. Hey, with the Buddha. Gotta dance with the Buddha. Don't even know why it's so long. Yeah, something like that would work, and I could put Gouda in there for a lyric. I kind of think of songs like almost kind of like puzzle boxes in that sense, where it's like, okay, I could put that in there. Now, what can it relate to? So we got Suave. Oh, I could write about how much I really do not like very privileged people that don't know how privileged they actually are, and then that's how the Gouda can come into play. Okay, so let's write that privilege. Yeah, so and that's basically some songwriting in a nutshell. But yeah, that's what I end up doing when I'm doing the songwriting stuff. And yeah, now I kind of got an idea, and I think I do want to like. I would love to be able to create an entire song, but it probably would take way too long.
Oh, yeah. That's what I was thinking. Yeah. So we got a good idea of what it's like for his creative process. And I mean, Ethan, that's awesome. And honestly, man, this has just been so great. I mean, having you on again, I mean, it's just so great. And now, I mean, I should have asked you this the last podcast, but I'm going to ask you this now. So if we were to talk to you again a year from today, I mean, where would you like to be at with the Owl Eyes? What are some goals that you would like to see as a band you guys achieve if we were to talk a year from today?
A year from today, I would like to say that we have successfully had a summer tour or a summer tour like event under our belt. I would also like to say that we would have a second album ready to be released or just recently been released by that time. And I would also like to say that we're getting some more traction and playing more shows. At the end of the day, like, I really know the blessings that I have in my life. I got such wonderful parents that came all the way up from Missouri just to hang with their boy and do some remodeling and set up a really cool workstation. I got a wonderful, caring fiance, soon to be wife, that never thought I would meet a girl like her, and now I met her, and she's my everything. You know, and like I feel like people, like, if I ever have like the movie of my life, the biopic, people are gonna see this clip and they're gonna be like, oh, and then it went downhill. Something happened and it all went off track. But I have this perspective that, like, you know, that is life. Life is not about, like, the way you think it plays out in a movie and the way you think it plays out in your head of, like, how success happens like that overnight or this.
It
And
doesn't.
sometimes those things happen. There are overnight success
Very
stories.
rarely, but yeah.
But at the same time, those overnight success stories, they've had 5 to 10 years at least under their belt, struggling, trying things, not really knowing their true purpose in life, and suddenly they connect to it and things kind of go from there. But their only factors are time and determination. And you can't control time, but you can control your determination. So as long as you have that passion and that feeling within you to go for it and create art and, you know, say what you want to say. Because to me, I feel like art is not only a great stress reliever, but it's a great communicator. And in some ways, you can let people know more about who you are as a person through a song more than even a podcast. But sometimes you're like, yeah, I don't want to dig through what the hell Gouda means. I want to know, like, do you like beer or do you like soda? And that's what a podcast is for.
No, yeah, and that's actually a good idea for a podcast. But man, I gotta say, dude, being my first guest and having you back on, I mean, it was so great talking to you again. And you guys, check out the Owl Eyes. I'll leave a link to all their stuff down below. I'll leave a link to their hit song on Spotify that, I mean, everyone should go and check out. And I mean,
War
honestly,
Elephants?
yeah,
War Elephants?
War Elephants. Yeah, War Elephants. And honestly, dude, man, like I said this before, but man, I wish you nothing but the best of success. Let me know any future concert dates, and I'll see if I have some free time. I would love to go and see you guys live, man. It would be an absolute honor. But dude, honestly, and I can't believe that we live in the same city too. So I mean, one of these days, well, here's what I'm going to propose online, on air. One of these days I'm going to come over and I'm going to buy some of your merch, though. At least that's the least thing that I can do. So I'm going to come over and then we'll get some merch, man. And dude, man, I honestly, you don't realize how much I appreciate you coming back on this podcast and just connecting with you again. And honestly, I mean, I love to have you on again, and we'll work something out about that. But dude, honestly, thank you so much for coming on again. I really, really appreciate it.
Absolutely, no problem. Thank you for having me, and to all people out there that listen to the music and hopefully try to find us, you can reach me on theowleyes.com. That's TheOwleyes.com. You can find links there directly to our Facebook page, which is through the banner. If you want to communicate one-on-one with me, that's the best place to reach. If you want to kind of just like chill and see like what my mind comes up with and just cool happenings in the Allies world, follow us on Allies 1995 on Twitter, and also follow us on the same title on Instagram. And yeah, that's all I got to say. The Allies are always watching. Hope you're listening, and I hope you're rocking out.
And we'll send it off with that. And again, you guys, this is Ryan Johnson, DD on the spot, signing out. Have a great day, everyone.
Absolutely.